Welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I'm your host. I'm Darlene Childress. I'm a life and parenting coach. And over the last few weeks, I've been talking a lot about how to have better conversations with your kids, particularly in those times where they have big emotions or they're having problems regulating their feelings or their behavior's out of bounds, sort of what to do when your child is having a meltdown or what to do when they have off-track behavior. And in that process, I've been teaching you a lot about the connection tool, which is this principle around how to coach your children, how to help them learn how to process their own emotion, how to take all that inside messy stuff that's going on within them and how to move those big feelings through their body in ways that don't cause problems for others or for themselves. And in that process, what we are doing in the connection tool is we're narrating what we can see and we're narrating the circumstance. I see you are throwing your food on the floor, or I see you kicking your brother. Then we name the emotion. I wonder if you're feeling really overwhelmed. Then we validate that. That makes sense. Of course, you're feeling overwhelmed. And then we regulate that feeling. It's okay to have big feelings. It's not okay to kick. I want you to go kick this. I want you to go take care of your body this way, or I want you to use your words. So you are using the connection tool as a way to validate your child's big feelings and give them tools, building their resilience and their emotional regulation tools so that they don't have to have so many big meltdowns and so much misbehavior. So that's been really useful. If you haven't listened to those past few episodes, I highly recommend you go back and listen to those. And now today, I want to talk to you more about how to resolve those moments when your child has a lot of emotion and they come out through negative self-talk. When your kids say things like, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'll never be good at this, or nobody likes me, like if they feel like they don't belong, or I don't have any friends, or everyone hates me, I'm not invited, you don't like me, you love him more, you love her more, you're always mad at me. Or they're maybe saying, I'm a bad kid, or I'm a terrible person, I don't matter, no one cares about me. Or if they start to feel like, I'm making mistakes all the time, it's all my fault, I can't do it, right? So this is that negative self-talk. You might even see it as they get a little older around their appearance. I'm fat, I'm ugly, I don't like my freckles, I don't like my red hair, I don't like my dark skin, I don't like whatever, right? Our kids, they have these negative thoughts that come out. And I'm glad that your children are narrating those thoughts and they're putting them out in the world instead of hiding them and keeping them secret and having all these negative thoughts within their own head. And you don't even know, right? So what happens when our child has that big emotion and they express their big feelings and they say, I'm dumb, or I'm a terrible person, or you don't like me, or nobody likes me, or I'm ugly. At first, when you hear those words coming from your child, you may freak out a little bit. It might feel concerning to you. Your brain might take over and you might think, oh no, they're going to have a bad self-esteem, or they're going to grow up and be depressed, or, oh my God, my kid has anxiety. And it's very easy to take a moment in time and you make it a general evaluation of your child when it really is just a specific moment in time. Oftentimes, our kids are saying those things and they're making general statements. They're making hyperbolic statements about their thoughts. I'm always, I'm never, those kinds of extreme language. When they use extreme language, it's really easy for us to make it extreme. For us as parents to be like, oh my God, that my kid is freaking out and this is I gotta fix this. Do they need therapy? Are they being bullied? You might freak out. And I want you to know that your kids' big feelings and their big thoughts are not something that you want to freak out about, because your child needs to look at you and be able to borrow your confidence, your belief that they are going to grow up and be strong, and they're going to learn to love themselves, and they're going to learn to like themselves, and they're going to learn to make mistakes, and they're going to learn to be big, strong adults who can handle lots and lots of things. So when you see that mirror and you are worried that they're going to always kind of think this way, I want to remind you that it's not an always they're going to think this way. It's a moment in time that they're thinking this way right now. And it's an opportunity for you to talk to them and coach them and help them with their big feelings and with their negative thoughts. I'm going to teach you how to have a coaching conversation, how to have a good quality conversation around negative self-talk so that you feel more comfortable and prepared. But I wanted to start by just saying, you might freak out, but your child doesn't, you're not helping your child if you freak out. Your worry doesn't help them, but your confidence and your trust does help them. They're going to borrow your state of mind. So let's give them a positive state of mind. Now, the other thing I see that happens with parents is you hear something ridiculous like, I'm dumb, nobody likes me, I didn't get invited to the party, everybody's going, I'm not, no one cares about me, I never can do anything right, or I'm a bad boy, or I'm a bad girl, you don't like me. Sometimes when we hear things like that, we will almost minimize or dismiss it and be like, oh, don't say that, ha ha ha, or that's not true, or don't think like that. We kind of go over the top of it. Now, sometimes that's really useful, okay? I don't want to give you the idea that every time your child has a negative self-talk or a negative perspective that you got to get right in there and, coach them, right? That's overwhelming. And we want to make parenting simple. But if you start to see a pattern, if you're noticing that your child kind of keeps saying I'm a bad kid or keeps saying I'm stupid, then that's going to be a time you want to double down, dig down, and coach them. And what we mean by coaching is offering them a different way to think. You're teaching them. Now, as a parent, you're teaching your kids all the time, right? You got to teach them about money and time and, being kind and your values and all the stuff that you're teaching your children. This is the same exact thing that you want to teach your kids how to think better thoughts, right? And I'm going to help you create kind of a framework for how to do that. So it's okay if sometimes you just kind of go, oh, don't worry about that. You think that way, but that's okay. It's not true. You can be a little bit passive about moments like that, but I don't want you to constantly or consistently dismiss your child's negative self-talk, because it is an opportunity for you to explore why they are thinking that and giving them the tools to change their perspective. So again, we're not going to freak out. We're not going to over hype it up, but we're not going to under hype it up. We want to find that kind of middle of the road parenting where it's like, oh, tell me more. You're saying you're stupid. I would love to talk to you about that. That's kind of the beginning of the conversation. So you're always wanting to make sure that your child is regulated before you have a conversation about a thought. It is impossible to learn something new when your child is in a big feeling cycle, when they're in the middle of a meltdown, when they're having a lot of emotion. If you try to teach them something, you go to logic, you go to lecture, you start monologuing, in that moment, unfortunately, your child's brain isn't quite connecting the dots, and they really need to be validated first. They need connection before coaching. So I really want you to always remember, if you start to teach your child something and then they become kind of resistant, like, don't talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Don't say that. That's like, okay, maybe they don't feel quite seen yet. They don't feel quite validated yet. We need to go back to connection. I like to think about Coaching requires consent. Like really, you can't really teach somebody something until they're sort of in a warm, safe environment. They feel supported. They feel connected to you. So we want to use that connection tool before you coach. So now a coaching conversation, I want you to think about it in these 3 parts. So I'm trying to make this complex topic of like teaching your kids how to think better thoughts or how to teach your kids anything. What are the parts that are necessary to teach someone something? Now, I was a teacher. I used to teach middle school and high school. So I do know how the best way is to scaffold a conversation about something new, a topic. So the 3 parts are reflect on what's been happening, kind of ground yourself in a scenario. So reflect on what they had said, what you've noticed, a pattern. Then you're going to teach them why that doesn't work and what they can do instead. And then you're going to practice how to do the new thing. So you're going to reflect, teach, practice. So reflection really is just kind of grounding them into the place of like when they said the thing, when they did the behavior, when it came up. So you're going to reflect on that. Then you're going to teach them why that doesn't work, whether that's hitting their sibling or always making you late or having negative self-talk or being irresponsible. Any conversation that you want to have with your child about like where they are and where you want them to go, a skill gap, like they're here and you want them to move forward towards more maturity, you're going to do a coaching conversation. You're going to do these 3 parts. You're going to reflect on where they are, what's been happening. You're going to teach them why it doesn't work and what to do instead. And then you're going to practice. So let's break it down when we think about this negative self-talk, right? What you want as a parent is to help your child have some perspective on themselves so they don't get stuck in negative thinking and have that negative talk. I'm dumb. No one likes me. I'm a bad kid. We don't want to get that thought stuck inside of them in a way that makes it become a belief. When you have your kids 0 to 11, they're building a set of beliefs about themselves. That it's almost like an inheritance of self-concept. You are guiding and having conversations about what you want them to think about themselves. And we want them, the basic things is I'm safe, I'm lovable, and I'm capable. So we want our kids to go into adolescence with those core beliefs. I'm safe, I'm lovable, and I'm capable. That's why it's so important to have conversations about your kids' thoughts and let them know that they're not always going to think that way. Just because they think that way in that one moment doesn't mean that's going to be how they think about everything forever. If they have a moment where they're thinking I'm stupid, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. Or they have a feeling that no one likes me. It doesn't mean that that's always true. That's why we want to have these conversations with our kids so that they don't get stuck in those thoughts of I'm not safe, I'm not lovable, and I'm not capable. Okay, so how do we do these coaching conversations? Now, remember the first thing I said is you're going to reflect, then you're going to teach, then you're going to practice. So let's talk about reflecting. How do you start that, right? So your kid is calm, you're calm, they've said the thing, maybe they said it a few minutes ago, maybe they said it yesterday. I want you to not feel as if you have to be right on top of it. Like, oh, they said it right now. I need to talk about it. Don't do that. Wait till everyone's calm. Wait till you've thought about it a little bit. And then when everyone's okay, sometimes that's at bedtime. Sometimes that's at dinner. Sometimes that's driving home from school-ish. You're going to say, okay, earlier I heard you say, no one likes me. I heard you say, I'm stupid. I heard you say that I love your brother more. I heard you say that your teacher doesn't like you. I heard you say that no one likes you, right? You're going to have a moment where you point out that they said that thing. And then you would say to them, do you remember saying that? What made you say that? What were you thinking or what happened that made you say that? And you are going to have a moment where you get to ask them, what was going on? What made you say that? I want you to give your child time to reflect and think about what happened there. Why did they think that thought? Once they've had a chance to say what's on their mind, what happened there, some kids will talk about it, some kids won't, no problem. You're just giving them a chance to kind of reflect on it. And then I want you to validate, to normalize. And I want you to say, it's normal for people to have thoughts like that sometimes. That happens, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling sad or you're feeling a little disappointed. And so you kind of really say, like, it makes sense that you would think that because you made a mistake, or it makes sense that you would think that because I gave your brother or your sister the cocoa first, or it makes sense that you would think that because. So that sentence is really important. It makes sense that you would think that because you were feeling that way, or it makes sense that you would think that because of the circumstances that happened. And then you get to say, but guess what? When you think that way, does it make you feel happy or does it make you feel sad? Does that thought help you feel good about yourself, or does that thought help you feel bad about yourself? Then you ask your child, how do you want to feel? Now, this is really advanced coaching, okay? Because your kids are pretty little and they're going to be like, what are you talking about, right? They have no idea that they have power over how they think. They have no idea that they have power over how they feel. For your child, it's just like coming at them all the time, these thoughts and these feelings. And what we're trying to do over the course of their childhood is to teach them that they have the agency, the power to change how they think about things, that they get to decide that they can think positively and feel better. Now, we're not bypassing emotion. Emotion comes on us and we need to process it. But at the same time, we all can learn to think about things differently. So for example, as an adult, you're thinking about, oh my God, we're going to be so late. This is a disaster. My kids are so irresponsible. We're always late to everything. This is a huge issue. And then at the same time, you're feeling stressed and you're overwhelmed and you're showing up and barking at your kids and you're impatient and you're frustrated. That's because your thought of this is a dangerous situation. You're panicking is going to make you show up in a way that is panicky and overwhelmed. So I want to say, of course, you feel panicked and overwhelmed when you're thinking, this is a big deal. We're going to get in trouble. Or you can think, oh, we're late. No problem. I'll figure this out. I'm going to work on getting on time. Let's just see what we can do to move this moment forward. Now, the circumstance stays the same, right? For your child, the circumstance stays the same. We can't necessarily change our circumstance, but we do get to change how we respond to it. So I give you that little teaching because I want to help you teach your children this. So you get to ask them, do these thoughts help you feel happy or sad? How do you want to feel? Now, some kids will be like, mad. I'm like, okay, well then you can keep your mad thoughts. But what about if you tried to think of a different thought? Now, that's the reflection part. So we're just reflecting on what happened and normalizing it. Now we do the teaching part. And I'm going to teach you a concept as well. So you get to say to your kid, like, hey, let me teach you something new. Did you know that thoughts and feelings are like clouds? They come and they go. Negative thoughts are like rainy days. Positive thoughts are like sunny days. Sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's sunny. But if you have a negative thought, sometimes a negative thought can get stuck in your head, and instead of just being a temporary cloudy day, it might become part of your everyday weather, like a rainy day every day in your mind. I don't think you want to have a rainy day in your mind every day, right? Do you want to have a sunny day or a rainy day? And then hopefully they say sunny day. If they don't, it's okay. They get to decide. You cannot force your child to think positive thoughts. All we can do is teach them that they get to have power over their thoughts. most kids, they're like, well, I want to feel happy. I want to feel content. Like I want to feel joy, I want to have fun. It's like, okay, great. Kids just want to have fun, right? So you're saying, okay, that's so good. I'm glad you want to have sunny days in your mind. Do you get to choose if you want to have a lot of sunshine in your mind or a lot of rain? Did you know that? You get to ask, did you know that you get to choose? And it says, then you get to say, when it comes to thoughts, you get to pick thoughts that make you feel happy and more calm. You get to do that. I'm going to teach you a little thing called the 3 C's of thoughts. So you're teaching your child this concept. You're saying, listen, this is what happens with thoughts. You catch your thought, you check your thought, you change your thought. So the 3 C's of thoughts are catch your thought, check your thought, change your thought. So the first part is catching your thought, identifying what was I just thinking? What did I just say? I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm ugly. I'm fat. No one likes me. Everybody hates me. Whatever. That's a thought. So it feels like a fact, but it's just a thought. So you want to catch your thought. Find that one thought, catch it, hold it, and then check it, look at it. Is this thought helpful? Does this thought help me feel better, or does this thought make me feel sad? So we're catching our thought, we're looking at it, we're checking it out, and then if we decide we don't like it, we change it. We replace it with a more positive thought. So catch your thought, check your thought, change your thought. You can do this too as a parent. That's part of move your body, move your mind. That's part of regulating your own nervous system. When it comes to your kids, catch yourself. What are your thoughts? Are they hurting you or helping you? If they're hurting you, change them. The circumstance is the same. You get to think whatever you want. You get to feel how you want to feel. You can be intentional about it. Now, if you're in a default thinking your feelings are going to come up, we need to validate those feelings, and then we need to move our mindset. So this is like the basic of cognitive behavioral training for your children. It's so cool. I wish that I learned this as a kid. I didn't learn this till I was like in my 40s, and I have benefited so much from being able to, be in charge of my own thinking. And that's a lot about becoming a calm mama. Part about being in this podcast is all about learning how to regulate your emotions, either after they come up or preventing those negative emotions. And a big strategy we use is this mindset work. So you're teaching your kids mindset. So we're reflecting what happened. We're teaching them the concept of the 3 C's: catch your thoughts, check your thoughts, change your thoughts. And then you practice. So you say, do you want to practice this? Now, you can do this with kids up until about 9 or 10. They're really open to this kind of learning. Sometimes you catch them at the wrong time, or they're really resistant, or they feel like they're going to get in trouble. Just keep working on having these conversations with your kids as much as you can, being lighthearted, not taking anything too serious, like it's not that deep, as like my teenagers would say, and not getting caught up in the moment, but being able to see your child and having their thought be real to them, and then kind of trying to find a wiggle room. So then you would say, okay, hey, let's practice. You said earlier, what was that thought you said? You said, I'm stupid, right? Okay, let's catch it. I'm stupid. Okay, we got it. Now let's take a look at that thought. Is thinking I'm stupid, is it a helpful thought or is it a hurtful thought? Yeah, it's hurtful. Yeah. So what can we change it to? What can we think instead? How about I make mistakes sometimes and that's okay? Or I'm still learning and that's okay. Or I did my best. That's okay. I'm still learning. I'm prepared. I'm figuring it out. So you can replace any thought with a more positive thought. It doesn't have to be the exact opposite, like I'm stupid, I'm smart. Sometimes our brain won't quite believe that new thought. So we want to have thoughts that feel more useful and are also true. So when we change those thoughts, you can try the opposite, but then maybe sometimes it doesn't quite work. So we have to kind of find, I think of those as bridge thoughts, thoughts that you use in between to get you to that new place of thinking. So like I said, there's going to be obstacles sometimes. There's going to be moments when your child doesn't want to have these conversations or you get kind of tripped up yourself. Don't worry too much. You do this work naturally as a parent all the time. I know you're having conversations when your kids say I'm stupid or you don't like me or everybody hates me or I hate myself or I'm a bad kid or I'm ugly. I know that you are having conversations with them already. This is just a tool to help you have a better conversation if it feels comfortable to you. If you like the 3 C's of thoughts, catch them, check them, change them, teach that to your kids. And then your kids will also notice if you have negative thoughts. They'll start to catch your thoughts and they'll say, Mommy, is that helpful or hurtful? And then you'll be like, oh, you're right. Let me change my thought. So be onto yourself too. If you're like, I'm a terrible cook, I'm a bad driver, any kind of negative, I'm fat, I'm ugly, any kind of negative thoughts that you're saying out loud, you're modeling that a little bit to your kids. So as a family, you can decide we are going to try really hard to improve the way we think about ourselves and think about circumstances. Now, if your kid, after you've taught this concept and they say, they get back into the habit and they're like, man, nobody plays with me at school. Everyone sucks, And you can say, well, everyone sucks. Is that thought helpful or is that thought hurtful? Does that thought help you get friends or does that thought hurt you getting friends? You ask a question and you let them do their own thinking. Let them answer it. And then you can say, well, I wonder if you could find a different thought. I wonder if you could change that thought. So if this becomes part of your family culture, it will be much easier to just kind of bring this in whenever you notice that your kids are having some off-track thinking. I think it's really cool, actually. I'm really excited for you to have this tool, the coaching tool as a whole, that reflect, teach, and practice, but then specifically this 3 C's of thoughts, how to help your children when they have negative self-talk. It's going to be really handy, and I know it's going to help you. So please reach out to me. You can, go to Instagram, comment, send me a DM. If you're watching on YouTube, you can go ahead and pop in a comment there. Or if you're on my email list, please say hello and let me know how this is going. If you have questions, I read all those emails. I'd love to connect with you. And of course, if you don't have the Stop Yelling Toolkit, be sure to go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get your copy of the Stop Yelling Toolkit, where I explain for you as a parent how to calm your nervous system using the Calm Break. Super valuable tool. I hope you have your hands on it. All right. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you next time. Hey mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do 2 things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies, just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.